Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for being with us tonight. So, you were worried about Donald Trump running the country? I'm more worried about two documented liars running the country. Hillary Clinton, who can't keep her story straight, whether it's the emails, Benghazi, or dodging those bullets on that tarmac in Bosnia. And now, Elizabeth Warren, make-believe Native American claiming Cherokee heritage, which minority status was used to promote her at Harvard Law School. The rumor tonight, Hillary Clinton may pick Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren as her vice presidential running mate. And this weekend is the audition for Warren to prove her vice presidential bona fides.
I just learned that Crooked Hillary, along with her friend, you know, she's got this goofy friend named Elizabeth Warren. She's on her Twitter ad. She's a goofus. She is a goofus. So, Elizabeth, you ever see her? I mean, this woman, she's a basket case. By the way, she's done nothing in the United States Senate.
And more than that, the Twitter war between Donald Trump and Elizabeth Warren is already locked and loaded. Now, Elizabeth Warren doesn't even like Hillary Clinton. She wrote a well-publicized critique of Hillary and her big bank connections and protections, saying that Hillary was initially opposed to an overhaul of the bankruptcy laws, but after receiving a $140,000 contribution from banking industry executives, voted in their favor, arguing that big banks were part of Clinton's constituency. Hillary has recently offered a flip-flop explanation. This is it. She wanted to protect vulnerable women and their children who were receiving child support from the risk that child support might end if the spouse went bankrupt. And Elizabeth Warren doesn't even support Hillary Clinton. In fact, she is still cheering Bernie Sanders on. No surprise there. Elizabeth, like Bernie, is a progressive, shall we say, socialist. The Bernie-Elizabeth love fest is well documented. Bernie saying that unlike Hillary, Elizabeth is the real champion who will take down Wall Street. So, what's going on here? Aside from the fact that politics makes strange bedfellows, we're in the middle of the preview of the real 2016 presidential race. But then again, people don't vote for president based on the person running for VP. So what is this all about? If the rumor is true, it's about Hillary trying to deflect her big Wall Street and big bank sellout. It's about the Bernie Sanders millennials never voting for Hillary and using Elizabeth Warren to bring them in. It's about how Elizabeth Warren, it's making her the pit bull going after Donald Trump, while Hillary makes, well, ladylike. It's about shutting up Bernie at this summer's Democrat presidential convention. It's about Hillary doubling down on her woman card because, after all, Hillary is a proponent of women. Or is she? Take a listen.
She's married to a man who was the worst abuser of women in the history of politics. She's married to a man who hurt many women, and Hillary, if you look and you study, Hillary hurt many women, the women that he abused. And Hillary was an enabler, and she treated these women horribly. Just remember this. And some of those women were destroyed not by him, but by the way that Hillary Clinton treated them after everything went down. So just remember that, folks.
Now, I have a feeling we're going to be hearing names like Paula Jones, Jennifer Flowers, Juanita Broderick, Monica Lewinsky, and other such women. But I doubt they'll be coming out for Hillary. Plus, Hillary might be a little busy, given the reported upcoming interview with the FBI, which, of course, she hasn't heard anything about Another lie that didn't even last a week. And the fact that the feds seem rather serious extraditing a convicted hacker from Romania who says he hacked into Hillary Clinton's emails, putting truth to the lie that Hillary had no Benghazi emails, not to mention the risk of our secure records being subject to exposure, but more the reality that it did happen. So stay tuned, folks. It doesn't get any better than this. And that's my open. Tell me what you think on my Facebook page or Twitter, hashtag Judge Jeanine. And with me now is principal at the Dewey Square Group and Democratic strategist, Marianne Marsh. All right, Marianne, hello. Is Elizabeth Warren auditioning? And why would Hillary pick her?
Well, I didn't underestimate Donald Trump when he first started to run for president, and you shouldn't underestimate Elizabeth Warren either. The most dangerous person in politics is someone who has nothing to lose, and Elizabeth Warren has nothing to lose in this fight. And the fact that she's taking on Donald Trump the way she has on Twitter these last few days not only elevates her amongst her supporters across the country, which she's put together in less than 2 years, a lot of the people here in Massachusetts who first voted for Scott Brown, then voted for Elizabeth Warren against him, put her in the Senate. Those are the same people here who voted for Donald Trump in the Massachusetts primary. So she appeals to a lot of the union workers here, rank and file, blue collar workers. Those are the same people who voted for Donald Trump that like Elizabeth Warren and voted for her too. She has a great way to reach them. She's very effective.
That's great, except this is a national convention. So, I mean, the fact that these people in Massachusetts like her, and I know Massachusetts is an important state, but at the same time, I was looking up Elizabeth Warren's record. And, you know, apparently none of the legislation that she sponsored ever became law. I mean, you know, it's just she says she's proud of voting against the Keystone Pipeline, which would bring jobs, of course. But other than that, she's a good talker. And the truth is that she's got some real issues, credibility. I mean, this whole Native American thing, and it maybe wasn't something that was such a big deal, but now that she's on the national stage, it will be.
Well, a couple things. I mean, remember, she's in a Republican Senate run by Republicans and Mitch McConnell, but she is holding Wall Street accountable.
So that's why she hasn't gotten anything
but in
passed?
2 years, Judge, well, look, the Republicans are the majority. There's a reason we only have 8 Supreme Court justices right now. That's one of the reasons. So you're a Democrat. She's working very hard to get things done. She's holding Wall Street accountable. She's trying to get colleges refinanced.
Explain to me how she's doing it. A woman you say doesn't have power is holding Wall Street accountable. I could go out and give a good speech too. Maybe for $285,000 I could give a great speech. But let's move on.
I have no doubt you could,
Hillary is doubling down on the woman card. Donald Trump is doubling down on his calling Hillary the enabler and saying that she's destroyed lives. I mean, you know, I get that she doesn't want to talk about it, but at the same time, when Donald went after Bill, they shut up.
Well, look, I think if Donald Trump wants to go back to the 90s against Hillary Clinton, it's not going to be very effective because people look at the 90s now and what they remember is the best economy they ever had and the biggest paychecks they ever had.
Yeah, but young people, the millennials, don't remember that. And they may be hearing about this stuff for the first time. So doesn't it go to your credibility? If you say you're a woman who supports women and then you hear that the one person who had the attack squad was Hillary Clinton.
I think when people hear about this, Judge, when you look at the facts, is Hillary Clinton was defending her husband. But once she found out the truth, and she found out pretty much when everybody else did, you didn't hear her, going after those women anymore. That's a fact.
You know what, Marianne? I love you. You are so smart. Don't say that. Don't underestimate my viewers and me.
I'm not.
The truth is, this went from the beginning right to the Oval Office, what he was doing to women. You know it and I know it. I can go through the lawsuit. It's not worth it. But it speaks to, if she's going to play the woman card, she better be a proponent of women.
She is. And I think, again, to be fair, she did go after women when she was defending her husband because she felt they were political
There's
attacks.
a difference between saying, I love my husband, and I know this, Marianne, I love my husband.
True.
You don't trash the women, but let's move on because this is getting too much. All right.
I think when everyone finds out the truth, they stop defending their husband.
What is the truth? Everybody knows what the truth is. Those lawsuits were settled, several of them with the women. But let's go to the Guccifer. Guccifer is extradited from Romania. I said this a month ago on Justice. All right, Guccifer is a hacker. She comes out and says that the campaign is unfathomable that this guy hacked into a mom and pop homebrewed server in somebody's closet. But the truth is, he's a hacker. It's what he does for a living.
Sure, and don't you think if he had those emails, we would have read about them by now, and they'd be out in the world, and they would have been released long ago, and we haven't seen anything. So he's in a federal prison for hacking, and now he's talking cheap talk. I don't think he has a lot of credibility. If he's got the emails, show him. Put them out there. But I don't think he does, because I think he's not telling the truth.
But what if they're top secret and they're not being put out there now?
You know, Judge, as you and I know, throughout this whole case, unfortunately, there have been a lot of leaks. And I think if the FBI or anybody else looking at this believed that were true, we would have heard about that too, unfortunately.
But do you agree the whole thing's going to be resolved in the next month as it relates to the emails, not the foundation?
I hope so. I think it may not get resolved till the summer, though, frankly, but I think what you do see is no one involved with this is saying that she intentionally committed any crime, intentionally violated national security. Well, there have been plenty of leaks, as you know.
Having you on. With me now, Judicial Watch Director of Research and Investigation, Chris Farrell. All right, Chris. Hillary talks to Andrea Mitchell, and she says, nobody hacked my emails. Does Hillary even know?
She should know, and she's lying when she says no one did it. Guccifer is very credible. Lying? Well, because we have the inbox of Sidney Blumenthal published in The Guardian. We have the assessments of people like Michael Hayden and General Flynn, who said that they would be disappointed if their former colleagues in the KGB and the Chinese intelligence service hadn't hacked a wide-open outlaw server. It's improbable, it's unbelievable that any first world foreign intelligence service wouldn't target an incredibly vulnerable server like that.
All right, but let's go to the fact. If Guccifer, the Romanian hacker who was in Romania for hacking in a Romanian jail, not our charges, but if he did hack, wouldn't the FBI be able to identify where he was hacking from and whether he did the hacking? Wouldn't there be a physical location identification?
Absolutely. They can forensically walk it back. And frankly, that's why he's sitting in a jail in Alexandria, Virginia right now. They didn't extradite him because they had nothing else to do one week ago. And there's a reason he's been brought back to the United States, and that's to provide evidence or testimony about how he entered into her server and what he saw there.
You know what's interesting? There's a quote, and when I was reading the reports, he says, it was like an open orchid. The ease with which he hacked her emails.
He also said that there are at least 10 other entries or hacks by other entities that he could identify just by roaming around the server itself.
And there has been a suggestion that the Russians and the Chinese and maybe even the Israelis, and you can tell by the IPs, were hacking into it as well.
And that's exactly what you would expect.
You know what, Chris? The Judicial Watch has been the one consistent pursuer of the truth. I mean, you know, you've got Congress and oversight and all that, but you guys have taken it right to the courts. Do you think that the federal courts are going to do the judges anything about the fact that these State Department attorneys went in and said, we've got nothing, and swore to a federal judge that they had nothing that was in response to a freedom of information? Isn't it more than just about Hillary and Uma? Doesn't it go down the pike?
It absolutely is, and that's why in our litigation, where we've been granted discovery, in the next 8 weeks, we will take the sworn depositions of Hillary Clinton's inner circle, people like Huma Abedin, Cheryl Mills, the Assistant Secretary of State Patrick Kennedy, and others. And frankly, it's only through our litigation that the public knows any of this. And we'll continue to press forward, and as we take these depositions, we'll make them public. People will be able to read and hear for themselves what was going on and what the story is.
All right, Chris, but you know what doesn't make sense to me? Okay, I was a prosecutor for 30 years, okay? If the FBI has a pending investigation, it is rare that they let a civil deposition precede their questioning or their resolution of their case because they don't want it messed up. But if a federal court has said you can question Hillary, Uma, and the rest of them, then you're going to do it, right? Can the feds stop you?
I mean, they could probably intervene if they wish to, but I can tell you that I, too, before I came to Judicial Watch, I was a special agent of Army counterintelligence. I've done investigations on unlawful disclosure of national defense information exactly like this. And so, you know, I'm not guessing at this. I've done it for a living, just as you've been a prosecutor, and you know that we're going to press forward very aggressively with our case to get the facts out. Whether the FBI does or doesn't move forward, or whether Attorney General Lynch chooses to block any kind of movement by the FBI to seek an indictment, you know, we have our own civil track. Judge Emmett Sullivan doesn't think this is funny.
Oh, I know.
You know, he asked the Justice Department attorney who authorized the use of the server. They couldn't answer.
Oh, there's a shock. Anyway, Chris,
insulting.
I'm running out of time, but we're going to have you back, and we'll be watching very closely. I can't wait to hear what you get in those depositions. Chris Farrell, Judicial Watch. Thank you. And still ahead tonight, street justice at Trump Tower. Plus, he was a prominent anti-Trump pollster leading the charge to stop Donald Trump from getting the nomination. So what's he going to do now? Ed Goes is here, and we're going to ask him. Plus, Paul Ryan isn't ready to support Donald Trump. Is that leadership? Is that unity? Three of the GOP's best are here to discuss the decision, or lack thereof, and what it will do to the party. Justice is coming right back. Don't go away. Donald Trump is the last man standing. Conservatives across America, though, have spoken. But the question remains, will the GOP unify behind the presumptive Republican presidential candidate, or will some in the establishment risk everything by supporting a third-party option? Joining me now to weigh in, Republican pollster and former advisor to anti-Trump Our Principles PAC, Ed Goes. All right, Ed, good evening.
Hey,
Last
Judge,
time you were here, you said that, you know, you were part of the anti-Trump, one of the super PACs. You still anti-Trump?
Well, no, I'm going to support the nominee, you know, Judge.
Are you going to support Trump?
I'm going to support the nominee, and Trump is the nominee. Wait a minute.
Are you saying that there's a possibility Trump will not be the nominee?
No, not at all. I am supporting the nominee. Trump, I believe, will be the nominee at this point. And
well, who's
Judge,
beat him?
you've been very you've been very gracious over the years. No one's going to beat him.
Okay.
I said I support the nominee. He is the presumptive nominee.
Okay.
Okay.
What
and we all can't be as gracious as you are, Judge. I mean, when you ran against Hillary Clinton for the Senate, and Trump contributed
6 weeks? Come on,
to her.
Come on.
When Trump contributed to her, you didn't hold hard feelings.
So let's you and I just settle on this. Where does the money go?
Well, I think that's going to be tough. I mean, one of the things I think we now have to look at is that we have Trump is going to be the nominee for the Republicans. I think Hillary is going to be the nominee for the Democrats. They both have historically high negatives. There's no telling where this race is going to go. It's going to be a very tough race. But in the short term, one of the things we have to be really paying attention to is the difference between Trump's being slightly higher on his unfavorables.
And that's not what I'm asking you. Where is the money going? In other words, there was a lot of money that was going into the anti-Trump movement, okay?
Yeah.
And now, where is that money going?
I think you're going to see some of it go to Trump. You're going to see some of it going to try to hold the Senate and control the Senate. I think some of it may not buy in until they see if he puts his money in. I'm not part of that.
Hasn't he already put his money in the primary?
Well, one of the things we're facing, Judge, and I say we as Republicans, is the Hillary super PAC has already put down $100 million of TV starting in June to go against Trump. They're going to try to do to Trump what they did to Romney, and quite frankly, has higher negatives than Romney did at that point. That is what we're facing. That can't be party money. That's going to have to be money that the super PACs for Trump are going to have to raise if we're going to offset what the Democrats are doing. And they're taking a page right out of the playbook. With all
your connections, Ed, will you try to get some of that money that was anti-Trump to be for Trump?
Judge, as you know, I'm not part of the money circles. I'm a pollster. I work in the campaign. I work in the trenches.
Okay.
I will be back in the trenches working for our nominee and working for all our candidates.
All right. And at the end of the day, are you going to vote for Trump?
I'm going to support the nominee, yes.
Ed, you should run for office.
I know better.
You do that Washington two-step very well, Ed.
Well, and Judge, in all fairness, one of the things that is very important for the Trump people to understand, look, I know Paul Manafort, I know Rick Wiley, they're very smart. Manafort, in fact, is sometimes brilliant, is that we have a large chunk of the Republican voters, not the establishment, voters across the country that are fairly negative to Trump. He needs
so what do you want to do? What is the point of people saying that? And I got to go. But so what? They're negative to Hillary. Move on. Pick a horse.
But Trump needs to be reaching out to them, and that's the key point.
All right.
Candidates always have to reach out. He needs to be doing that to Republican voters now.
I think he's been doing that for 10 months, but that's just me. Ed Goes, good to have you on again. Thank you.
Good to have you.
All right. And next, Paul Ryan, Donald Trump, and the indecision that could cost the Republicans. Also ahead tonight, a special surprise for Mother's Day. Don't miss it. And later, who should be a VP?
Monica Lewinsky.
Oh! And you never know what kind of answers you're going to get when you take to Street Justice at Trump Tower. Stay with us. Welcome back to Justice. And what a week it's been for the GOP. A presumptive nominee has emerged, and the Republican Speaker of the House says he's not ready to support him. A lot of talk about this with my next guest. Joining me now, Jeff Bewley, General Counsel to the New York State Republican Committee, and Tom Doherty, public strategy firm Mercury LLC. Tom was also Senior Advisor to former Governor George Pataki, and we all work together. All right, so we're all pals here.
We are.
For a long time. All right, now, for the party that usually rallies around its presumptive nominee, there is this incredibly grudging, not even acceptance. Is this the end of the Republican Party?
Well, you really have to look at the primary process, and it's a little hard when the presumptive nominee of our party was Little Marco, Lying Ted, went after George Pataki, went after in a very personal way.
We know George, right? But I mean, so it's not personal. He had to get them out.
Yeah, but going after him on issue after issue is fine. But it got very personal. So, and in Ryan's case, I mean, you really have to say he's a policy wonk. And so seriously, I think that if he had just said, look, Donald says, look, I got to go and talk to him. We got to talk about policy. You get through it and move on.
You know what they're going to talk about? Let me tell you what they're going to talk about. You know it and I know it. It's a shakedown. And don't give me this, Paul Ryan is a policy wonk. Hogwash. Paul Ryan's the guy who comes out and says sanctuary cities are not going to be funded by the federal government and then passes an omnibus budget in the quiet of the night. Get rid of that nonsense.
So and
they want to criticize Donald Trump for not being conservative enough? I mean, who's the one who's voted for all of these budgets that are so left-leaning, won't stand up to the Democrats? I'll let you answer, Jeff.
You know, I think Donald Trump ran a brilliant campaign, but it was an irreverent campaign.
Yeah.
And that is making the coalescing around him a little bit more difficult, and it's going to take a little bit longer. Although there are signs that it could come together.
What do you think he and Paul are going to talk about on Thursday?
I do think they're going to talk about policy, the differences that they may have on public policy. I also think that, look, the hardball facts of it is that Paul Ryan has to talk to his membership and say, where and how does this affect your local races? Because at the end of the day, it's his job to remain speaker, right? A good sign for Donald Trump in New York, for instance, Lee Zeldin's seat, right? Zeldin this week came out for Trump. Why did he come out for Trump? Clear politics. The polls showed that in that district where Barack Obama slightly won 4 years ago, this time Donald Trump's winning the district. It's pure politics, and that's what they're going to talk about.
But you know, when even Reince Priebus, I mean, there is this grudging reluctance. It's just, it is amazing. Here's the bottom line: he's our nominee. You know what I think it is? I think it's the establishment is scared to death of Donald Trump because he doesn't owe them a darn thing.
But who is the establishment when you say that?
The elected officials, the Congress that's being held in such low esteem, 18%. All right, the lobbyists, K Street. Do I have to tell you guys about lobbyists?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Look, it's about winning elections. That's what it's always about. It's about who can win. And right now, Donald Trump with an extremely high negative, as you know.
So does Hillary. So what? They cancel each other out.
But they don't, because the electoral map.
What are you going to do? Change the nominee?
Look, right now, the race always comes down to, independent voters. And right now, independent voters, they are moderate in politics and moderate in temperament.
More voters than anyone in the history of Republican primaries. I got to talk to Jeff now. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, I think when they meet, Paul Ryan is concerned about the impact of Mr. Trump on down-ballot races. Mr. Trump, on the other hand, needs to raise money. So the question becomes, where are all these big GOP donors going to go? And as I look at it, they basically got four choices. One, they can support Donald Trump. Two, they can stop short of supporting Donald Trump but oppose Hillary Clinton. Three, they can ignore the presidential race and send their money to the down-ballot races, which quite a few are. Or four, which would be the worst-case scenario, they would oppose Trump and/or support a third-party candidate.
Okay, all right, that's brilliant because those are the options. But you know what's interesting to me? You've got the big spending fracking family behind Cruz is not going to back Trump. Well, Trump is for fracking. I mean, I think energy is going to be a wedge issue this year. I really do, and yet. What you've got is a fracking family who won't support him. The Koch brothers are not going to support him. Who else? Charles and David. Is that true?
You know, look, the Koch brothers have generally, in past, have really focused on electing state Republicans, gaining control of legislators, et cetera, et cetera. Across the board, it is going to be vital for Donald Trump against Hillary Clinton and the money that's coming in for her super PACs. He needs to start getting some of these people that you have mentioned. And at the end, what has hurt him is when a Cruz supporter has felt the wrath of the lying Ted. It's personal.
But Ted did lie. He did lie about Ben Carson getting out of the primary. That's bad stuff.
But continuing that and continuing it, it's time to make peace. Right? He
won. Now he's going to make peace.
So make the peace and don't expect people in 24, 48 hours to say, all right, all forgiven. Give them time. Somebody like that who's been a huge Cruz supporter, I would expect that over time they'll come back into the fold.
What do you think, Jeff?
Well, I think they need to move some of these big donors who are going to, right now, are committing to the down-ballot races and not the presidential race to get them to commit to the presidential race. For example, another Cruz PAC, Keep the Promise PAC, which is Robert Mercer and Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne Conway, I read, made a statement that, well, supporting Donald Trump and opposing Hillary Clinton are two very different things. So they seem to be headed toward, well, they'll get involved. They may not say they like Donald Trump, but they'll say they're against Hillary Clinton. So that's helpful. So they're trending in the right direction.
But what's a day without a rationalization, huh?
But you know, the good news for your candidate, Donald Trump, is that right now, both Democrats and Republicans at the congressional level say he's not affecting down ballot.
Okay. Tom Doherty, Jeff Bewley, my friends, thanks for being with me.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. And to your mom, too.
Thank you.
And anyway, what does the American Conservative Union think of Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton matchup? Matt Schlapp, the chairman, is here next. Don't go away. Paul Ryan, House Speaker, deepening the GOP divide, saying he is not yet ready to support Donald Trump. Take a listen.
To be perfectly candid with you, Jake, I'm just not ready to do that at this point. I'm not there right now, and I hope to, though, and I want to. But I think what is required is that we unify this party. And I think the bulk of the burden on unifying the party will have to come from our presumptive nominee. I think that he needs to do more to unify this party, to bring all wings of the Republican Party together, and then to go forward and to appeal to all Americans.
Trump expressed surprise over Ryan's comments that he would not yet support him. The two are now set to meet this coming Thursday. With me now, American Conservative Union Chairman and former White House political director under President George G.W. Bush, Matt Schlapp. All right, Matt, what you've got is the Speaker of the House saying that Donald Trump has to unify the party. Wouldn't you say Donald has already unified 10.5 million voters and that Paul Ryan, as a speaker, ought to get behind Donald Trump? Or am I wrong?
Well, I just think for elected Republicans, this is very tough because Donald Trump has been running against them. And he's gotten more Republican votes in these primaries than we've seen by any Republican candidate in my lifetime. And it's hard for these people that are elected Republicans because he's run against their failure to stop these Obama radical policies. And you can just tell they're still it's hard for them to swallow Donald Trump. You know what's ironic? They didn't like Ted Cruz either. They didn't like either of the messages that the voters were sending, because those voters are saying, we want to try a whole new way of doing business.
Well, you know, it's interesting when you say that Trump was running against their failures. You know, when they accused Donald Trump of not being conservative enough, the truth is that some of them were elected to do certain things, Tea Party candidates, and they just, you know, engaged in the Washington two-step. So, you know, are the Republicans strapping bombs to their chests and just saying, let's blow up the whole party, not support him, and let Hillary win? Or there's talk of this guy, Gary Johnson, who apparently is already on the ballot in 50 states. I think we have a picture of him, you know, running as a third-party libertarian. What do you think of that?
Let's be clear about this third-party option. First of all, Gary Johnson admits that he gets stoned every day.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure we really think that makes a lot of sense for that person to have the nuclear codes on his desk. Second of all these people who are saying, well, let's get a third-party conservative Republican to run against Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, the deadlines in these states are almost passed. They don't even have a candidate, and every day they hem and haw over embracing Donald Trump. They're doing nothing but help Hillary Clinton. It's very clear in this country. We elect either Democrats or Republicans in the modern political times. And if you're not for Donald Trump, then you are for Hillary Clinton. And let me tell you something, I'm going to fight them until my last breath in my body. Another Clinton presidency, that's a disaster, especially for people who say that Obama has been destroying the country.
And, you know, the other piece to it is the possibility of Elizabeth Warren being the VP. I mean, talk about, you know, the move as a progressive Democrat to socialism. You know, that would be a problem, too. But what do you think that Trump and Paul Ryan are going to be talking about at their meeting on Thursday?
You know, I think you said it earlier. You called it a shakedown. I don't know if I'd use those terms, Judge. But I do think that Paul Ryan is hearing from his House members. Yeah. And we've got more Republican House members than we've had in a generation. And some of them are worried about the effect of Trump. There's no question about it. They're in purple states, purple districts, they're in blue districts. But the fact is this, at the end of the day, Paul Ryan's going to back Donald Trump. Paul Ryan's going to be the chairman of the convention in Cleveland. He has to back the nominee. And I think most Republicans, not all of them, most Republicans and most leaders are going to get behind Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is going to get a record number of independents, and I think he's going to get some people from the other side. Remember, 30% of Bernie Sanders supporters are saying they won't support Clinton Incorporated because they think they're just functions of Wall Street. So there's a lot of reorienting going on in the political system, and I think anybody who predicts the general election today doesn't know what they're talking about.
And you know what's amazing is when you take someone like Donald Trump, I mean, he's a political outsider. I mean, the guy's never run for office, never even ran for the mayor of the local town. And the fact that he just went up there and did it, and he's got all of these followers. I mean, you would think that the establishment would understand that the American people have spoken. It's our government. It's our vote. It's what we think. But, Matt, we'll have you on again to talk about whether or not they get in line. Anyway, Matt Schlapp, thanks so much for being with us. And Street Justice is still ahead tonight, plus a surprise phone call for Mother's Day next. Welcome back to Justice. Before Street Justice, I want to take a moment tonight to wish all the wonderful mothers out there a very happy Mother's Day tomorrow, especially my own beautiful mom, Esther Ferris from upstate New York, who joins me now by phone. Hi, Mom.
Hi, sweetheart.
Are you watching the show?
I sure am.
And what did you think of it?
Excellent, always.
All right, folks, you're looking at some photos of my mom. Mom, there are pictures of you on the TV. There's a picture of you and Dad from a long time ago with a dress, Mom. I don't know if you remember that pink one. I still have it, the gown. The pink and the green, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have that dress. I remember as a little girl, you looked so gorgeous in it. And there's a picture, Mom, of you and me on the left and Lulu on the right. And speaking of my sister Lulu, I called and wished you happy Mother's Day first, didn't I, before Lulu?
You certainly did. By the way, Jeanine, you're a little bit thin, honey. You have to gain some weight.
Okay. Now, I want to tell everybody, she tells me that every weekend, because after every show, I call my mom, and I say, hi, Mom, did you like the show? And she always says, you look good, but you're too thin. Are you sleeping? Here's the thing, Mom. I've been going to spin class, and I'm very happy with my weight, so don't say anything. But tomorrow, I'm cooking, and I'm cooking some of the great food that you taught me to cook. And Mom, I just want to say to everyone, when people say, where do you get your strength from and where do you get your determination from, I always say from my mom, because she's my backbone.
We have something to work for you, Jeanine. You could do it all. You've always been since you were a little girl, my sweetheart.
All right. I love you, Mom.
I love you more in life.
Bye-bye, Mom.
Bye, my darling.
Okay. Now, you've been waiting for it all night. Street Justice is next, and we're going to be right back. Donald Trump is the presumptive GOP nominee. So, for this week's Street Justice, I headed, where else, to Trump Tower to see who I might find. And you'll never guess who I caught a glimpse of. Okay. All right. Thank you. You do?
Yes, I do.
What does Trump Tower tell you about what kind of president Donald Trump would be?
I think he'd be an awesome president.
What do you think of it?
It's typically Trump.
Okay.
Lots of gold.
What? What do you expect to see here?
I actually just want to get the Make America Great Again hat. Yeah.
Or what do you expect to see here?
Donald?
Yeah. And I hear he's in the building, actually. Just standing here at Trump Tower. What do you expect to see?
Next president.
What do you say to Paul Ryan, who says he's not ready to support or endorse Donald Trump?
How about he can go take a flying leap?
Are you ready to support Donald Trump?
From day one.
And what do you say to Paul Ryan?
Catch up. Catch up.
Paul Ryan is a sellout.
Do you ever see Donald Trump here?
Yes, I saw him once.
Yeah, what do you think of him?
He's all right. I like him.
I would say he'd be a pretty solid president.
And who should be his VP?
I would have liked to see Carson, but I don't think he's going to do it.
Who should be a VP?
That's a tough one. I have a feeling that somewhere in the woodwork is Chris.
Chris Christie? Who should be a VP?
Monica Lewinsky.
Oh! Guess who's here at Trump Tower leaving the building now? What a coincidence. Look at that vehicle. It is literally backing right up to Trump Tower. You are getting a bird's eye view of what it's like to be a presidential nominee. Uh-oh, here comes a big guy. Donald Trump, the Republican nominee for president, about to exit the building, and you can see him coming out right now. And every Secret Service guy is looking at us. Donald Trump, about to leave Trump Tower. What do you think of Donald Trump? He just left.
Stupid and strange man.
Where are you from?
Sweden.
Yeah, well, there you have it. And that's it for us on Street Justice. On Not Your Normal Street. And don't forget, if you're looking for a great read or a gift for your mom, pick up my book, He Killed Them All, Robert Durst and My Quest for Justice. The book's on sale now. Remember, friend me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Judge_Jeanine, Jeanine. Thanks so much for watching. The Greg Gutfeld Show is next. See you next week. Same time, same place, same me. Happy Mother's Day!